help people to get their books done, right?
Yes.
She's the one that does the editing and the proofing before I get hold of it. So I'm excited, Leah. I'm excited now. I really am so glad you're here.
Yes.
Michael, I see Michael as well. So welcome, Michael.
Hey, Mr. M. We're not. Oh, what's going on? What happened to the stallion?
It feels like a wasp today, right? Is that a what?
Are you autistic people? We need to stallion back, please.
Look, welcome everyone. If you're here, my friends, now drop us a comment. Of course, I'd love to welcome you properly. Now, say hello, say hi, say where you join us from. Comment on the topic. Say anything you want to say. Just if you don't say something, we can see you, but we don't know it's you. That's the problem, right? It's a good day. It's a good day, Christiana. So
it is a good day, and let me just say thank you, welcome. It is always great to be here. It's always a good day with all of you. I walk away sometimes after the show thinking, did that just happen? Or what just happened? In a positive way, because you come with your questions, you come so open, so intrigued, so curious, and with answers too, and experiences that I love to share with you guys. And I love to learn from you guys. I love to hear your stories. I love to hear your perspective. I also would love you to come on in the studio, join us. If you have something to say about today's topic, I truly, truly want to hear from you. So when we do these shows, it's not about, me talking at you guys or Annie and I talking at you guys. It's about this being interactive. It isn't my show. It's your show. You guys make it what it is. But the reason why we'll have a show in the first place, without, this beautiful community, we wouldn't have a show. So I want to say thank you for always being here, supporting us, for always, always making the time for us. Shall I begin? So Annie, once again, we're arrived at a topic where, not many like to talk about this topic. First of all, miscarriage and baby loss is something that people really shy away from, not because they don't want to talk about it, but because it can be quite an awkward, unintentionally unsure or intentionally incorrect, inaccurate, offensive. There's so many words that I could use, but it's the kind of topic that people don't want to begin first. They may join in when somebody else starts the conversation, but they wouldn't be the initiator of this conversation. So, as you know, I took it upon myself to do so. Upon myself to do so. Hence the reason why I'm here. Today's show is no different. Although it's a different topic, it's no different from conversations that are difficult to have. And today's conversation really came from a place of, I think, for me, personal experience, as well as hearing other people's story. I remember before. In that split second, I told myself, oh, maybe I'm not. And then I thought, actually, I am a mother. Yes, I may not have a child to show for it, but I am actually a mother, because that was who I am in my mind. And that was what my whole journey, my whole preconception, the journey, the first 7 years that it took to conceive to begin with. And the fact that I love children anyway, I was surrounded by children. And I walked away feeling, hold on, is that really, it was about the identity. To me, my identity was about being, in that moment, it was about being a mother. And when someone tells you, you hear that so loudly the loss they felt and how lost they were feeling. Now this pregnancy is gone. So, as you know, whenever I have conversations, that means that we could have a topic. I bring it to the table, and here I am today bringing this to the table. But while loss of identity, I think specifically isn't directly measured. So I started to look at this and thinking, okay, is there statistics that really shows how many people have disclosed specifically saying I experienced loss, and with that came loss of identity? There isn't a specific stats, but general emotional impact tells us that when you experience miscarriage and baby loss, there is that psychological, emotional, and social impact, you know, and physical impact that it has on those that experience miscarriage or baby loss. But 55%, I will begin by saying, I always say this in my show, everyone may know somebody, at least half of us will know somebody that has experienced miscarriage or they themselves have experienced miscarriage. And out of that, 1 in 4 women will experience miscarriage. 1 in 8 couples will experience fertility challenges. And what tends to happen, what comes to that is when you're on a journey, especially for couples who are on a journey of wanting to either grow their family or start their family, your thought is about the joys that you're going to experience, right? The journey you embark, it's all about, I'm going to be a parent. I'm going to be X, Y, and Z. So let's look at it this way. When you're courting, and I'm going to be old-fashioned now. When you're courting, people say, courting, what does that mean? Do we see that word? When you're courting, you go through the stages of the courting, the girlfriend-boyfriend stage, and the engaged, you're now engaged, and you're like couples. And you're not married. You're like, oh, we're going to have a baby. Okay? This is not the only way. I'm just expressing from a traditional perspective. But at each stage, there's an identity that follows. You're the girlfriend, then you're the fiance, then you're the husband or the wife. And now it's the mother. With that husband and wife comes, I'm a mother or a father. When a loss happens, research shows that you have that loss of identity. But you begin to question, am I a mother? Am I a father? Can I now claim these labels, these names? Can I now state that I still am in the midst of others who have, evidence of that conception journey in the absence of your own evidence of your conception journey? And it really lights on what I mentioned earlier when I was told, you know what we're talking about, please do not speak because you have no evidence to show. We do, right? It leaves you questioning your self-worth for some. And 55% of women report persistent feelings of loss of self or identity disruption, right? So you may even be a CEO of a company, of your own company. But the reality is when you go through this loss, you begin to question your identity as a parent or a mother or becoming one. And you really got to think of it. It got me thinking, what else, what other feelings do people carry with them? Because we meet people every single day, and sometimes you do not know what's happening behind the scenes. In my practice, there's a plethora of things that happen, and this is not just for women alone. Men too go through the same thing, And when we think about it, research in 2021 showed and found that up to 73% of women experience clinical significant depression and anxiety, which involves self-esteem or the lack of self-esteem and identity confusion after they've experienced miscarriage and or baby loss. Men are less likely to speak or seek help, but 25% of them have a sense of failing in the protection or being a protector and provider role after a miscarriage and a baby loss they've experienced miscarriage and a baby loss, leading to questioning the masculinity and their identity. So there's a lot, and this is in the obstetrics journal of 2021. And so when you start to think about that, it just, for me, the question in my head began: what does that look like? How does that manifest itself? What shapes and forms does it take? But couples also explain the same thing. So 40% of couples experience relationship strain. The identity as both mother and father or parents is called into question in their mind. And also, for some couples who that began as a glue, the joy, the icing on the cake, without having a child, without having the evidence, as I mentioned, the relationship and identity in the relationship becomes a talking point, becomes a questioning point for couples. So we see that this thing that people might think is a tiny thing can have an adverse effect and can really impact couples, women, men, mentally, emotionally. It takes its toll. And often due to different grieving styles and misaligned expectations of parental identity. So really, my question today to you is, have you ever experienced, identity loss or lack of self-esteem or confidence, or you find yourself questioning whether at all you're a parent, or has anyone ever uttered those words to you? Like, you wouldn't know what I'm talking about because you haven't got the evidence of a baby. And nearly 60% of couples felt socially isolated, right? Which then serves to intensify the feeling of lost identity as a parent, because others don't recognize them as a parent. And this is something that for me, I have personal experience. People say to you, well, you can't be a parent, but it's your child. And you have to pause and say to yourself, actually, I went through the journey, I went through that 7 years hell. Yes, I may not have evidence to show for it, but I'm a parent. So, and I'm going to pause here. And welcome any thoughts. And please, if you're joining us, welcome. Do let us know where you are joining us from, what time it is where you are. And if you are using LinkedIn user, please do write your name in your comments as you post it. So when it pops up on our screen, we'll know who it is and we can address you correctly. Thank you, and thank you. Yes, and over to you. And Michael.
And you say if you're using LinkedIn user, let's welcome some people. William, how you doing?
Oh my goodness. Hi, bro. How are you?
You're thinking of William. I thought, I spend my days visualizing his conference. I really do. And I know that's the route to greatness, William. So
yeah,
my speech is written. You get your 30 seconds video, William, that you want to date from the speakers to promote the event. So I'll come back to you. If you don't know about No Human is Useless conference, then connect with William.
Yes, please do.
He's got a fundraiser, GoFundMe page. So it's 60-day fundraising challenge that he's doing. So let's support that while we're there. William, come on stage and tell them yourself. Why am I telling them that? Yeah. I think there'll be some events between now and then for us to explain more.
Hi, Tracy.
Hello, Tracy.
It's been a while. I've not seen you for quite some time. Where have you been hiding?
She was there yesterday. So were you.
I saw her yesterday briefly, yes.
Yeah. So that counts. You can't say you haven't seen her. She's there, right?
Because she was kind of there, but I have not seen her myself, as in, Hi, Jay. Welcome. We haven't spoken with. I haven't spoken with Jay for a little while now, too.
That's you. That's you, right?
Thank you.
Jay, Tracy says, when's your live show? I think Jay is doing shows with Americo these days. So I think it's Monday, I think it is.
Well, on LinkedIn.
I could be wrong. Yeah, no, it's still streaming. So they do. It's a mixture of storytelling and business market stuff. So I was there recently with Dr. Roxana, so we're talking about Dr. Roxana's books and
I'm gonna try and show my face then in that case.
my book. You should. You ought to. Yeah, Christiana. No, see you, right? Tracy
You know me,
says,
I'm all over the place, so I'm in 10 different places at the same time, Annie.
mm. No, I think Tracy said, I said, also that she mentions the loss of a potential job as a parent. Of course, I think that we have a lot of plans. Again, it comes back to this thing I was saying, this vision, these dreams that plays through in our videos that play through in our heads, what life would be like when the child comes. And when that doesn't come, it is such a devastating loss. It's such a, I think what? It's hard to put words to the feeling. Disappointment, loss, frustration, shame, guilt. All those things will come in. But it's just that feeling of not knowing what to do next. Do you say you're a parent? When you haven't got the child, can you say you're a parent? Right.
I do. Absolutely.
I think for most people,
oh my goodness.
Madam Ibiran K, welcome. We'll see you. I thought I would say we'll meet you.
Hi, welcome.
It's such a big, I can just, I can imagine the feeling. I mean, just that sense of loss is huge, right? I mean, play it through for those who go through IVF, for example. I'm saying that's probably a good way, a good way to look at it, because many of those don't get the pregnancy, they don't get a baby after each time they have IVF, right?
After all the hard work. Remember last time, 29 attempts, right. And on the 30th IVF attempt, she fell pregnant and went to full term and carried and delivered that baby.
Right. I'm saying that. So I said the first 29 times, imagine the feeling. I said that each time your hopes are raised, each time everything is aligned, everything is perfect, right? And what did I say? I don't want to describe the person, I'm saying, but everything, you're good to go. Let's just wait to see the miracle happen.
Yes.
And then it doesn't happen. What do you mean? How are you meant to feel? That's just, it must say. I imagine it rocks your confidence.
And, absolutely, 100%. 100%.
And I think that, when we are pregnant, when the couple realize that they're pregnant, I guess for me as a dad, I'm playing that video of mini me, and all I can see is mini me running around and me, I'm having fun and doing all the things you do with kids and babies, right? And then to suddenly find out it's not gonna happen. It's just a devastating loss. It's heartbreaking. Doesn't describe it. I'm saying it's I'm trying to find a word that will really get across that sense of loss, sense of desolation.
It's soul crushing.
Truly, that's probably the best word for it.
It really is, and I can tell you that it's soul crushing because I've had those feelings. You avoid spaces. When I say spaces, you avoid going to baby showers, you avoid going to christenings, you avoid anywhere that's a business. Not because you are not happy for those that are, but because you are trying to process and understand. Think about the sudden end to a developing parental identity. When that ends, you have plans in your head, like you were mentioning. Thank you, Eddie, for that point. You have plans, you have dreams, you have self-concept as a mother or father, what you're going to be like and how you're going to be with that child and all those children. Nobody prepares you for that. No one does, and so when you hear, like in my own experience, is, well, you would not know what we're speaking of because you're not a mother. I'm like, we have evidence, where's your evidence, kind of thing. And I'm thinking, and I had to really tell myself, I am a mother. I refuse for anyone to tell me, and I'm very blessed that I had a mother-in-law who, God rest her soul, said to me, you are a mother. mother of many nations. You've, you know, from that as well as my teaching, you know, well, you deal with children all the time. Even you've got nieces, nephews, great nieces, and so on and so forth. You are a mother because when you have them as, you might be an auntie, but you're still mothering them. You are still correcting them. You are still playing with them. You're still spending time with them. You're still giving them your love because ultimately it's the love that we pass on. It's the legacy from us to our children that we pass on. So that child doesn't have to be our child from, you know, from our womb or from our loins. That we can pass on that love. We can pass on what we have to give those children. So you are a mother, was what I was told. And that was a reaffirmation for me to say, although I was thinking for a moment when I heard those words and telling myself I'm a mother, it just confirmed and gave me that confidence to say, yes, I am a mother. Now, not everybody would have those words.
See, Christiana, I think to get to that place where, you know, where you can change the narrative, you know, it takes a lot. I think you know, you have to, you know, and I think what you have to overcome the realization that what you know at the beginning, which is that if I speak about this, if I speak at all today, that's why you don't go places, right? If I speak, I'm going to take the conversation down. Everyone's going to be on a whole different plane of, you know, the joy will be gone. It's going to be about, it'll be a sad conversation.
But also, it's if you speak, it's been a sad conversation, but whether or it's also whether you are able to remain in one piece to speak, because the emotions will overtake you. And the last thing you want to do is fall apart in the midst of this joyous occasion. So I hear you. It's that thing of not just speaking and hearing people speak back to you. It's whether or not you can comport yourself, whether you can conduct yourself in a way that to hide your emotions. You cannot be emotionless.
Right. Is that a word? Is that a word? Hide. I think it's the word hide your emotions, and that's the word. That's a burden. That's a burden on us when this happens, right? Because you say you don't really want to speak about your loss because you know that people. Some say if they could take the conversation down, it could take the whole mood down, right? You know, whereas you want, like you say, you want everyone, those who have babies to feel joy. Those who have baby showers to feel joy. You want to have happiness, right?
Absolutely.
Whereas you know, you're well aware that if you open your mouth, the chances are, if you're going to burst into tears,
yes,
or the conversation is going to be different to what you want to have, right?
Exactly. You know, but look at the other thing as well. We have to think about another different perspective. From a faith perspective, again, it's something that being someone of faith and someone who is my faith is really important to me. You hear comments, you know, well, you have faith, you're okay, you're fine. Just suck it up, pray. Yes, don't get me wrong. I will pray, and yes, I'll ask God to help me with my pain and help me with, you know, just processing and leaving it up to Him, you know, in my prayer. But the reality is, I am still human. Those emotions do not go away. So if you have somebody who's of faith and your community is telling you, oh, well, just pray and forget about it, you're human. So you are entitled. You have the right to embrace what you are feeling. You know, and if you do not want to show up in spaces, you don't have to show up in spaces. If you're feeling a loss of identity, sit down and ask yourself, what are my options right now? Can I talk to somebody about it? Because what happens is when you feel that way, you walk away and your thoughts are with you in isolation. And if you remember, I said this in my shows way back. As humans, we have the ability to think between 12,000 and 60,000 negative words, negative thoughts in our mind, right?
Every day.
Every single day. You got it spot on. Every single day. So we're built to err on the side of negativity. So you can see that it's not very difficult to remain negative. but it takes more strength to try to get to a positive place. And it's an intentional, and conscious actions that you take that really helps you to think, okay, my dreams and those.
Oh, I don't know. We lost Christiana. Yeah, look, I said, now this may be the biggest mountain that we have to climb. My screen is doing funny things, so here we are, right? Mr. M, I'm going to come to you in a second. Obafemi, welcome. Obafemi joining us from Lagos. Christiana, you fell off the stage. Please be more careful. I'm not so close to the edge of the stage, right? Stay in the middle.
Yes, here. I can see her. Hi, Titi. Welcome. So good to see you.
Excellent. So Miss Sarah is here as well. How are you
hi,
doing,
Sarah?
That's such a weird. I'm pretty sure my pictures that don't look. I don't know. Maybe it's my eyesight. I know what Sarah looks like, right? And that picture. If I saw that person on the street, Sarah, I'd be like, "That's not Sarah." Of course, it's you, right? Now I'm on Zara's podcast tomorrow, time 2. I think her podcast it's published on Spotify, so you do get to listen to it and join. In the evening. Sarah tells me that we're both live across several platforms right now.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. So which platforms are we on? I don't. Anyway, Sarah's it's got this scheme where if it's it's gonna create like a TV channel of.
Yes, he is.
People in our community. So.
And I'm in. He knows this already.
When one person streams, it streams to 10 people's channels, across the internet. That's his vision. I love a good vision. And what I said to him is make it real, right? Make it real. Yeah, anyway, so that thing is, I have no doubt. I'm excited. And if we're across many different social media platforms as we speak, then we'll take it, right? Mm-hmm. We'll definitely take it for sure. Zara, I'm trying to find you on my link and my WhatsApp. Right, okay. So Zara's show is called, I think, something about Queens, right? The Real Talk, Real Queens. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So do just go to StreamYard, not go Spotify tomorrow evening. I think the show gets published at 8:00. Mm-hmm. So there is one episode there of me already. If you I see your life is not worth living, right?
I have watched some of it already, anyway.
Have you? Poor thing. You poor thing. Now they said to me, "Any just talk."
Any just talk. That's what you're supposed to do. Just talk.
I'm like, I did. I just literally said I just talked, and they're like, I think 45 minutes in. 45 minutes and they were like, "You just talked." I'm like, "It's what you told me to do, right?" They can get a word in edgeways, basically. So number 2, I'm gonna be more understanding and let them ask questions. That's my fun tomorrow. Charito, welcome. Isn't it nice to have a show in your normal time, Charito? Eh? Isn't it just nice because Charito normally gets our messages.
Hi, Charito. Nice to see you.
It's in the Philippines. I think they're many hours ahead of us. So normally our shows are midnight to 6 a.m. for her.
It's night. Yes, it's night time for her.
And it's good. It says good night, everyone. So that tells you it's getting late already, right?
Yeah.
Charito, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Michael, thank you for being
Mr.
here.
Mr. Rivers is here.
Yeah. Number of thoughts we have each day.
Yes, it's Michael. That's real. 12,000 to 60,000 a day.
That's
you tend to have the same one because the brain hones in on the ones according to how we feel. Let's not forget, we send messages to our brain receptors, and what we hone in on is what the brain plays back to us over and over again.
Yeah,
in our subconscious, we're playing so many.
Sadly, there is a negative stories we tell ourselves over and over. And that ruminating. When good things happen, we're like, okay, yeah, I'll leave that, and then we go back to worrying about what didn't happen.
Yes.
What I coulda, shoulda, woulda. That's a human condition, which is
human. The right word is condition. Yes, Annie. It is condition. We condition ourselves. And I think also we are conditioned from a young age, and we continue that conditioning. We're speaking about generational stuff yesterday, right? And that's
Yeah.
an example of the intergenerational processing and conditioning that we go through. We have to remain conscious and intentional to reverse or eradicate all of those isms. Is the unlearning, the relearning, and the learning of these things, as I like to call them isms, that we have to work on. This is what I obviously do with my cohort and my clients, is the unlearning, relearning, and learning of most things when it comes to this topic.
Did I mention Dr. Lisa? I don't know how I missed this.
No, she's here. Yay,
Yeah,
welcome.
that cheers me up. That cheers me up. I'm sure our menopause room is on next month or next week. Not next month. Might be next month because Lisa wants to take a break for a couple of weeks. So I'm like, you don't do that.
Okay.
We work on Lisa. We work on people.
Lisa, you're entitled to it. So any, what shall we do? I think we can discuss this behind the scenes, or in fact, we can ask the audience. We are about to celebrate our 1 year anniversary of this show. Would you believe? It's been a year, a whole year of LinkedIn audio to live. From LinkedIn audio to LinkedIn live, right?
Yeah.
It's a year, Annie. Right? So, is there any topic that we can speak about that people want to suggest to us what you want us to talk about?
I know what I want to talk about.
Relating to miscarriage and baby loss, before you begin off the tangent.
I need food.
That's not for this show.
If you send the food, I'll eat it live. How's that? You send the food, I'll eat it live. You know.
Ooh, that's a challenge.
Right. Now let's have a meal together, my friends, across the world, right?
That's a challenge.
But,
yeah.
On the live stream events. Right?
Come on the studio and eat together.
But you have to send the food, Christiana. You have to send the food.
Okay. So here's the thing. Shall we have a party, a 1 year party for our LinkedIn Live?
Why not?
And have people come on the stage as well as wherever they're hailing from. And I think we can make that the start of our show, moving from daytime to evening time for us. Right? So we are, guys, you're hearing this here exclusively. We are looking to change the show from 2 p.m. BST, which is UK time, to 7 p.m. UK time, to give you guys the opportunity, especially those in America, to be here a little bit later than 7 a.m. in the morning. Must be crazy.
Or is love, right? It's one or the other.
Love. I'm going to take it. You know me, all about love. So it's all about love. It's love. I'll take love, definitely.
Excellent. Michael, you've been quiet for way too long, my friend. You know, what's your take on the conversation?
I think the bee stung him, or the wasp stung him.
You know what? I think I'd love that better than hanging around here and listening to you guys.
What's that?
The bees,
the wasp pig.
The wasp pig. He's not bitter. How are you today, my friend?
Going on about your 1 year anniversaries and having dinner and lunch. What the heck are these people up to? Yeah.
You're not
innovative.
You're not on the wrong show. You're on the right show.
Innovative ways to use, and I guess it's to bring some joy to our event.
Yes.
We'll talk serious topics, but
yes,
we still need to, like I say, move beyond the negative, the pain thoughts that we seem to say we're not keep having, which is what happens to us, right?
So that was your version of the pause and reset.
Okay. Yes,
of course.
I like it.
Me and the Goosey and
our friends.
That takes all my thoughts away, Michael. Well, I
Mhm.
think
What
I like thinking it's love, Christy. I'm looking
another,
at
another egusi and eba for you, eh? So I have to
yeah,
like package this food and bring it, eh? It is
yeah.
quite
That's
serious.
send it. Delivery
Okay.
will do.
Uh-huh. Delivery will do. Oh, I can imagine a guy on delivery on his bike riding for 5 hours.
I'll collect it on the door and I'll smile at him and say, yeah, you might even get a tip. You never know, right?
If he doesn't
I
turn up
like
before he
it.
gets there.
Let's go back to Michael.
So,
Michael.
Michael, your thoughts
Uh,
on this
of
topic?
course, I know you're a dad as well. I'm saying, how much of your identity is wrapped up in even in say during the journey,
Mm,
from the
and the
pregnancy to
loss.
becoming a dad. Yes.
It's just kind of like I can't really measure it because it encompasses quite a bit of time. And um as you know, preparing for the baby and everything, I was also a worker, a father. I had to go
Mm,
into work. I had to, fulfill, my employer's demands as well. So it kind of ticks up. You can't do 50-50. Now you have to kind of like emotionally you're with your wife, while you're at work, even though you're present. But so your mind, you split your mind about 25 or
mm,
30% is at work, and then the rest of it is thinking of your wife and thinking of all the activities that need to happen and planning and all these things that come into mind, so that when you get off of work, you start
mhm.
now you have to start implementing or
Of
getting
course.
things done, because that's what men do. They don't like to just think about it. They don't want to stress over it either. They take their emotions and put them to work, produce something tangible, because those emotions, when they stay in or stick into a man's mind, they tend to drive them crazy. And um, you don't want a man driven to his ultimate craziness, not knowing what to do with himself, because it just becomes, he's like it becomes like a dog chasing his tail.
Mm,
Just, so that's what it
Mm,
looks like. He's just going around
mm,
and around and around and around because he's got all this energy going round and round and round, but going nowhere, not actually doing anything. But it's a huge amount of heat generated and dust and dirt, just chasing his tail around. The heck? You don't want to do that. So that's why you need to have plans, you need to have ways that you're going, all those things. But all those things come to a stop, or a abrupt stop when you lose a baby. So you can imagine going from such a high level of energy all the way back down to, well, what the heck is this? What is this?
mm.
To nothing. It's like you fell into a black hole. There you are, warping around the universe. All of a sudden, you've went into a black hole, and blinded. What? I I can't even see where I. No senses, nothing. That's what baby loss is. A big black hole. You're senseless. To come out of that, the reason for you coming out of that is because your wife needs you more than anything else, because they have to get out of that. Because you can imagine, if you're in that black hole, where the heck is she in? What is she in? Black hole with aliens or demons. You gotta pull her out. So you're gonna be there firm and steady and bring her, really stand up. You don't lose your masculinity. You actually regain it. And you become, you want to become more than you anticipated, but in a
Mm,
different way. You have to rechannel now. All that energy has to go into getting your wife out of this situation, out of this misery, bringing her back, because can easily slip and slide into the be gone and be gone, never come back. And is that what you want? No. And you got to also understand that when you married her, you're also marrying the family. So you got to stand firm for yourself, also for her family too, and for yours. This is a family affair. But most importantly, you got to hold yourself upright and be strong for both of them. Because if you go crazy, any one of their members is also going to go crazy. You don't want to do that. And that's going to feed back into your wife. And that feedback is, you don't want that either. So stand up straight. As straight as you can stand, anyway. But be firm, be strong. Don't forget that, as a leader, you're supposed to provide or guide or defend the path. Sturdy the ship because it's been rocked. Be the captain. Because everybody that's on board requires you to be that captain to see them through the storms. Not just the storms, but you don't have to cover them from the storms, but you do have to make them strong enough to weather it. Because you're a leader, you weather it too. And be an example. Because it's through your example that they will reach out and find their anchor.
Thank
That's
you.
what I gotta say.
And that is so much. Thank you so much, Michael, I can hear the tone in your voice. It's almost like you're reliving every word you said as you were saying it, which really speaks to someone who's experienced that. Right, the way you speak about it, I can tell you really experienced it, and you're right. When you are, as a man, not only are you protecting your wife, your thoughts are with the family, her family, and your family. And that's a heavy burden to carry before you even begin to think about your own identity of what you were going to experience. As I say, the evidence that you'd have had is now gone. That baby is now gone. And so in the midst of trying to balance, and it's a real balance, trying to balance, trying to make everybody else happy, trying to sometimes appease people, you still got to think of yourself. And what men tell me is they do get lost. So you haven't, even before you've had the time to think about your own identity in this situation, in this event, you've got to rethink about others. You're lost thinking about others before you even think about your own loss, your own self-worth, your own self-identity. And that is a burden to carry when you're already dealing with something so traumatic. So it really just impounds the trauma you're experiencing, And as we know, men do not easily communicate their emotions because you're not taught to do so, you're not raised to do so. You're taught to be the protector, the provider, the shield and butler and everything else in this situation. And so that's why it's important that we take the time to think in the midst of all of that, who do you have that you are really close with, apart from your spouse, that you're really close with? Is it another family member? Is it a friend outside of, because a lot of the times it isn't members of the family that you are able to kind of disclose or confide in. It's a friend outside of the family, because they will have a different perspective, and their loyalty is to you, not to the family members that you are having to grapple with. And this is a situation where family members are willing, are empathetic, and are supportive. Imagine when you have family members who their intention is to come and place blame, right? To place blame and to create even more chaos, to have opinions of whether or not you're looking after the daughter or caring for the household.
That's
And
a
yes, you're
nightmare.
still lost. Yes, it is a nightmare. It really is a nightmare. You know what I did? I literally closed all the doors. When it comes to my husband, I'm very protective. I was like, nobody comes to this space. He and I are going to deal with this. When we're ready, we will come up to you guys and have those conversations, right? And vice versa for him. So when you don't have that, you have family members that come in and they wreak havoc. They create chaos and dysfunctionality in your own personal space. So you don't find the time to think about your self-worth. I mean, some of the common reasons for loss of identity, I think I mentioned earlier, Annie, in that you have, again, Michael really spoke about that, is the sudden end of a developing parental identity, right? You were expecting a baby, and the journey of a baby to begin with is that joy that you feel, especially if it's your first child. Hi, Andre, is a joy that you feel, the joy you feel, the expectations that you have. And we spoke about this, the mini me, in my head, like, when I was pregnant, I thought as a girl, I was already dressing my daughter in my head. I was already dressing my son in my head. I'm like, okay, this, that. I was really thinking of the school, the this, the that, and there's so many things, the christening, the meeting the family, the auntie, and what they're going to be like, and would they look like me? Would they sound like my husband? And, just so many things that we look at from the joyous perspective. So when you have that end, that abrupt end, and for some, it's extremely traumatic abrupt end. You mentioned so many things. You begin to question a lot of yourself. Was it meant to be? And don't forget, we are in a negative headspace anyway, subconsciously and consciously, until we choose not to. So there is that part to think of. And then we think about societal silence. What I mean by that is the lack of public recognition of your miscarriage. As I was told, you won't understand what we're speaking of because you don't have a baby, right? Without thinking, perhaps that person might be pregnant, so they would have felt like a mother at some point. And it leaves you feeling invisible, I suppose for some people, invalidated. And their parental identity is invalidated. So the societal silence can be a really harsh one, a really tough one, like to the point you question which spaces you want to occupy. As I mentioned earlier, do I want to attend a christening? Do I want to attend a baby shower and be told, oh, you won't know you're not pregnant, you won't understand. When people are speaking about all of the hormones, the mood swings, the everything that comes with pregnancy, when they're speaking about the cravings and all these things that at some point you had experienced, but you just don't have the evidence to show for it, and you're dismissed in that moment, it further puts that nail on the coffin to question your own identity. Then what happens is the internalized guilt and blame that also happens within ourselves, that speaks to us losing our identity, believing that our bodies, and the actions that we've taken has failed us, which leads to us questioning our self-worth. And for many, it is that questioning of the body and how good the negative self-talk that leads into this question of identity. Like, who am I? Here's what I would say to you is, who were you before you began this journey? And this journey serves to completely change us. It does change you. For women, physically, your body changes, it goes through that change. Emotionally, yes, tick, changes. Psychologically, yes, tick, changes, even more so, because of the words that we tell ourselves. And we really have to work on ourselves. Is a self-love. And to get to self-love, there's a lot of work that needs to be done before we can reach that point of, yes, we are now happy, we're now believing, we're now self-confident, we now have clarity that we can move forward on our journey and get to a point of, sustaining a pregnancy till full term. So it can be really really harsh, really telling on us when we choose to remain in spaces that really re-emphasizes the negativity that we feel. And unfortunately, sometimes our own homes, our own personal spaces harbor those thoughts and feelings, or harbor those individuals, that are unhelpful with their comments, unhelpful with their chaos. There are ways to avoid that happening. The next reason is a change in relationship, or changed relationships. It's often loss of this nature often affects the roles with our partners, families, friends. It adds confusion. I mentioned earlier, who am I now?
See, Christiana, I'd say one question that bugs us, that affects everyone, especially in that home, like you say, is what if?
Yes.
What if what if we never become parents? What if is our body that you mentioned, what if we're so broken that now our body is not going to let this happen? What if it's not meant to be? And that's bound to affect people, right?
It does. It's really, and the what if is the biggest negative self-talk that we tell ourselves. It plays a part in this identity we speak of, because once you tell yourself, I'm not a parent, my body has failed me, the what if comes in, right? So we don't begin with a what if. It's what we tell ourselves first. When that miscarriage or that baby loss happens, well, I'm not this. Well, my body's no good. I've heard this words. If I had £1 for each time I hear the words, my body's no good, my body has failed me, and I'll probably be, I don't know, a millionaire by now. So I really believe that we have to be careful in the choices of words that we use when it comes to ourself, our well-being. Because who teaches us that? No one. That's not something that we learn in school, college, or university, unless you go to learn that specifically. And even when you do, how clear is that? What does that look like? So here's the thing: the what if allows us to, I guess, what if also it's another way of protecting ourselves from what our mind, or where our mind goes to sometimes. And I speak from a perspective of those who sometimes will go on to attempt suicide. When I say attempt, meaning that they were not successful. They could no longer cope. They could no longer, they no longer believed that their body is good enough to reach their goal. Because when that is the only thing that you feel in your life is left, bringing a child into this world is a big deal. It's a big thing, and it's the only thing that is left in this world for me to do. There's nowhere else or nothing else. I've done the traveling. I've done the great job, the car, the house. This is the only icing on the cake that I truly want. I truly feel I deserve. When then you experience a loss, your first doubting and your first words to yourself is, One, why? Two, maybe I don't deserve to have a child. And women have said this to me. Maybe I don't deserve to have a child. Maybe it wasn't meant for me to be. Maybe, that's not where I should be. And now I'm at the point of wanting to, I've removed myself from that thought. The next thought that enters our your mind or our minds is, what if this happens? What if this happens again? What if my body fails me again? And the reality is, you have no control. What you do have control over is the positive things that you can tell yourself. So rather than the what if this happens again, is okay, let me go and have a conversation with a medical practitioner. Let me have a look at what I need to do. What do I need to put in my body, on my body, and around my body to contribute to? What is my spouse? It's like, can we do this together? Can you have your checkup? And men also need to have their checkup as well as women. So once you begin to start thinking in that way, you can see yourself wanting to become a parent. You can see yourself saying, actually, I am a parent. I can be a parent. But I need to do the work first before I can get the evidence. And so it's really important that when you are in this mindset, that you do not find yourself in negative spaces, but rather in positive spaces that allows you to be open to the idea of reaching that cherry on the top, that goal, that evidence that you want. And I'm choosing my words very carefully, because these are the words that I've heard, my clients will use, is my goal is to become a parent. My desire is to become a parent. Nothing will give me more joy than becoming a parent, or by increasing my family,
I'd like to give you or help in that regards, and that is to share something that I typically do. Is when I focus on an identity, I try to figure out what it actually means to me.
Of course, yes.
One of the things I've been investigating is mother. What does that mother mean to me? And I can simply, this is one way of looking at it. Break it up as an acronym, and this is what you get. M stands for matriarch, the guiding female figure. O stands for overseer, the one who watches over the group. T stands for teacher, imparting wisdom and care.
Yes.
Heart. H. H stands for heart, the emotional center of the community. E stands for empowerer, encouraging growth and strength.
Yes.
R stands for root, which is the most important part.
Absolutely.
The foundation that binds everyone together.
It's the heart.
Because in reality,
yes,
when a man goes out of the house, do whatever he needs to do, leaves the children and the mom around, he comes back to the root.
Absolutely.
Always comes back to the root.
Yes.
The root nourishes the young ones, makes them great, makes them better, empowers them to leave, but they always come back to the root.
Yes.
That's a mother.
It is.
Think of yourself that way.
Absolutely.
I hope you understand.
Yes. It is. Yes. Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
That's awesome. So yeah, I totally agree. Every single word in there is exactly, and more, and even more so, exactly what mother and who a mother is. And you don't have to have had, a birth child to be a mother, because there are those who've raised children who they necessarily give birth to. I think we must remember that, and I speak about options for women who perhaps may not be able to move forward with experiencing a birth of a child. There is adoption, there is surrogacy, but there are other children in your community. So a mother is exactly that, but doesn't mean that they're necessarily from that particular mother's womb. And that's the reason why I love what you just said, Michael. So thank you once again.
You're welcome.
So
let's welcome some more people because the legend has joined us, the superstar of the show.
Almanzo is here.
That's-
And Natalie.
Natalie, welcome, Natalie.
Welcome.
Always great to moderate our events as well. Our comments anyway. Thank you so
I'm
much.
waiting for my info, Natalie. Just so a reminder. Here's what I'm talking about.
So welcome, Wagnesh. I'll leave that between both of you. For sure. Welcome. Luz, I see you as well. Thank you.
It's been a while. Thank you, Luz. It's been a little while.
Yeah, thank you so much. I have no hope. So okay, Omuzuwa. Yeah, see, that's quite close, right? That's close. That's close. For a Nigerian, I'm shameful. Omuzuwa. So do forgive me. So if I've destroyed your name, so do let me off somewhere, right? We understand it. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us, all of you. So truly, we're grateful to have you all here.
I'm back.
Christiana, here's what I was gonna say.
Yes.
As Michael was talking, I guess, and your point about how we move forward. I think one thing that we could do that would help us maintain our identity without feeling like a fraud, like an imposter parent.
Can I pause you? Before you say that, I just want to go through some of the reasons of loss of identity. Then we can talk about how we move forward.
Yeah.
So I stopped at change relationships. So you are seen as a mother and a father, and you have partners. You're in a family. Again, we touched on this with Michael adding to it too. The family dynamics and how that happens and where you fit in, and when you look at the siblings who are now perhaps their parents themselves, and you begin to question, that goal is at reach, whether that desire is untouchable, whether it's something you can achieve. Is it achievable? Can my body do this? Without thinking of the options, because you're so focused on your own body and what you've told yourself. You are a mother, and therefore you want to see that come to fruition. So the next thing is the physical and hormonal changes that we experience. When that goes away, there's part of us that goes with that experience. Pregnancy alters the body completely. For some, in fact, for most of us, completely alters the body. And miscarriage can leave a woman feeling an alien in her own body, not knowing how to disclose that or to talk about it. Experience of PTSD leaves you in loss of identity, because now you are replaying that record of your whole body and what you've told yourself. Unresolved grief, complicated and disenfranchised grief can also store your identity. And the reconstruction of identity is one that you can achieve through really seeking that support, that help, whether it be preconception, support, understanding why you feel the way that you feel. Repeated losses and infertility challenges, can intensify your feelings of inadequacy and identity loss. And so it's so important, even before you begin the journey of pregnancy, I always say prepare yourself for any eventualities. So if you experience loss, doesn't automatically mean that you're no longer a parent. Of course, you're still a parent. You went through that journey. You know, what you tell yourself at the start really serves to see you through your journey. And especially if your journey includes a miscarriage or a baby loss. Annie, over to you, and I'll come back once you've spoken. Thank you.
The thing I'm going to say, is, which builds on what you're saying, is I think we have opportunities, options to memorialize our child.
Yes, absolutely, we do.
There's several ways. So I mean, so in the UK, we know that I think there's a register now, right?
Yes, there is.
And so essentially, you can name your child, and your child exists basically. I mean, that will take away some of the feeling, let's say, like an imposter, as if at least it's a reminder to you and to the world that you do, you are a parent.
I'll mention this in what you've said. In addition, when that first was introduced, there were a lot of discussions and topics for those who are in the first trimester. Let's not forget that in your first trimester, you may not have necessarily named the child at all. You may not have necessarily prepared yourself. You think, okay, I'm still in my early pregnancy, 6 weeks, or 8 weeks, or 10 or 12 weeks. You may still, most women, and most I've spoken to have said that they waited till the 12-week period had passed, okay, before any kind of talk of names or anything, because at that point they felt like, well, I'm well into my pregnancy now, first trimester is coming to an end, and therefore I can speak of other things. But let's think about those who didn't have the time to, who never actually got to meet their babies, and how you memorialize that is really important. But I do agree with you, Annie, to memorialize it, to remember, and that's the conversation that you have with your spouse and how you want to do that. So over to you, Annie. Let me just return the mic to you.
Simple strategies like keep a memory box. And you mentioned this, the UK register, and I said there was a time scale before, wasn't there? But now there's no time scale.
No.
Right, and you can get a certificate, certificate, essentially, right? And I said that takes away the ambiguity, the question of yourself. Am I really a parent? Is a question that we're trying to answer, right? And when your identity is tied to that, hopefully that will be, I guess, is it inspiration? Is it motivation? It will give you the sense of well-being to go forward again. And try again if that's your aim, to build your family.
That would help towards it, but that alone will not suffice. So let's be really clear about that, because we're not trying to say, go and memorialize your child. Automatically, you'll be fine, and you're going to be able to, you're now going to be able to move forward. So that's one small part of what can be done to truly help. I think for that is validation. That serves as real validation, as to you being a parent, validation for you to feel that my trauma and my journey has been acknowledged publicly. The other part is the inside. So inside your own home and inside your own body, and what you do going forward. Is having to tell yourself, okay, we've had this trauma happen. Let me go and sort and seek help and understand what I've just experienced. Let me process this first, understand it, and the fact that you're tied to this evidence that you don't have, what can I do? By really taking the time to think and to pause, and in some cases to actually write down. It's about writing down and seeing things in black and white as humans really plays a part in shifting the mindset. Because we can talk about things all day long, but when it's in black and white, and also the certificate serves that purpose too. When I go back to validation, but this time it's not about validating. It's about really understanding and reaffirming that I am a parent. I can now go on my journey to try again. And it takes a whole village. For some, they can try again and it happens. I'm not saying try again and minimizing the effort it takes for a lot of couples. So again, we know that 1 in 8 couples experience fertility challenges. Now you can imagine what trying again might mean for some. That might mean months and months or another 2 years before there is any news, any good news. And as research recently shows, and this is going to be a topic for the show, the part that men play in the first trimester that contributes to miscarriage, right? The first trimester. I mean, the rest of pregnancy, yes, but the biggest part and the whole part of the first trimester, because that is the initial developmental stages of any pregnancy. And yes, for so many years and for decades, we've said women are in charge of, the first trimester because of the folic acid, the preparation, the preconception stages that women have to go through. But actually, let's think about the part that men play. Their bodies, their sperm, and all of this good stuff. Like I said, that's going to be a show for another time. We'll speak about the scientific, the practical side, and the reality of it. And so it's really important that we begin to really label our feelings when it comes to the identity. Put it on paper. Type it if you wish. Speak into a phone. These days we have smartphones. Some form of recording and really listening and reading and listening to exactly how you have perceived yourself as either a parent or non-parent. Ask yourself the question, why is that? Why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? What does that mean? Break it down. And sometimes we don't, because we are busy thinking negative thoughts. We don't take the time to pause and break things down for us to clearly see. That's the work that needs to be done. So is it inner work that needs to be done? And the work on the outside is looking at how others also perceive us. Go as far as listening and hearing their perspective. Ask them the question. Do you think I'm a mother? Do you think, or would you please, whatever words you need to use, but the idea is to ask of their opinion, but also to ask for that support and to remind them of the words that are unhelpful and doesn't serve your journey, doesn't serve to feed you in a positive manner. Remind them that those words and those, the things they've said to you, the comments that are unhelpful are not welcomed. I know it might sound a bit blunt, but sometimes we have to think about our self-care and how we prevent and protect ourselves, especially our emotional, our physical, and our psychological, well-being. It's really important that we do that. We think about things like, for those who've experienced stillbirth, it's the empty cradle that we really have to look at, that reminds us. I know it's a negative experience, but that in itself is a reminder that we are parents. And for some, It's a reminder that they're not parents because there is no evidence, there's no child, there's no baby in that space. And so the question is, well, I can't be a mother because I've got no, the thought, sorry, is I cannot be a mother. There's no baby to show for it. I've gone through this whole journey. I don't have a child to show for it. You've gone through this whole journey because you are a mother. You may not be a baby to show for it, for your journey, but everything that you did from the moment that you discovered, or even before you discovered, the actual act itself to conceive, especially if that's your desire, is a motherly act. So I'm saying to you, you are a mother already. Think about the actions, the steps that you've taken, the protection, the eating well, the looking after your body, all those things. And as Michael mentioned in earlier on, the acronyms of a mother, it tells you the roots that you are, the power that you are. You know, when you think about it, the matriarch that you are. So you are a mother already. And the next question is, what do I do to positively reinforce the thought of being a mother, the thought that I am a mother, I am a father? That's really important, you know? And one thing I'm going to say is this: grieving, yes, is something that you cannot avoid. And the fact that you are grieving should tell you that you are parents, your mother and your father. You have experienced a loss. That in itself is for some people has become part and parcel of parenting or becoming parents. You know, so I'm bringing this today because it's something that was said to me many years ago. You know, you won't understand. You haven't got the evidence to show. And I had to say, actually, I am a mother. Just because I don't have the evidence doesn't mean I don't desire a child, doesn't mean that I'm not a mother, doesn't mean I didn't take the necessary steps to become pregnant before losing the pregnancy. That makes me a mother. And I'd like to see anybody who wants to argue differently. Argue differently about this. You know, of this whole topic of being a mother in the absence of the evidence, which is a child or a baby. So for me, key takeaways from this is identity. Identity loss is so common. We do not speak about it. Perhaps often we operate in isolation. We're too afraid to speak up in case somebody thinks we're going crazy. In case somebody hears us and it's loud enough for them to hear and laugh or gasp. We worry about the actions or inactions of others that will further cement our thoughts about us not being parents, mothers or fathers. And the reality is, until we start to speak up and speak out, we will remain in isolating situations, you know. And often it's the unspoken outcomes of miscarriage and baby loss that affects mothers, fathers, and couples in more unique ways than we truly understand. You know, we mentioned this earlier, validation and being open to conversations is so essential, so crucial in these situations to help those who are bereaved. And I mean the parents. Yes, extended family are also bereaved because of their expectations on us. And here's the other thing. The expectations on us by others is something we need to think about from a perspective that they are looking to us, to you, to be a parent. And therefore, by its own admission and channel, you're already parents. So people expect you to say, okay, you are parents because we're waiting for a baby. It didn't happen, but you're parents. That in itself should serve to reassure you if you have any doubts at all, you know? Um, and it's just sometimes it can feel really devastating when people say the wrong things. Don't be afraid to speak up, not angrily, in a calm manner, and tell them, I'm actually a parent. I may not have a child to show, but I was once a parent, and I'll be a parent again. In your case, if that's the case. So yes, I'm going to you, Mama. I don't know if anybody has any questions, any thoughts, anything they want to add to the conversation. Um,
for me, the big lesson is to do the work
yes.
after a loss. It's, I think, again, we're good at wanting, even dreaming, envisioning.
Yes.
And that's if we succeed first time, every time, then great. The reality is, there's many reasons why we have baby loss. There's many reasons for infertility. There's many reasons why people don't get pregnant. I think, it's about doing the work. That this is one thing I like by Christiana and how she does what she does. There is a science to pregnancy. There's a science to baby loss. I think we need to bear in mind. I think that science, it involves actively and intentionally seeking support, information, services.
Yes.
Yeah, because there's baby loss is not a random thing. It happens for various reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and if we do when we do the work, then we can normally uncover what could be affecting us, and then take steps to address address those issues to increase our chances next time round. So that's the reality of pregnancy, and if our identity is tied to being a parent, so the only thing we can do is go again, find the strength, find the wherewithal to go again. And if we are, if we're well positioned, if we're better prepared, especially health wise, then our chances are increased beyond, they increase exponentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. But the key thing here to say is you are not alone in your thoughts. So I think often people will operate and they will go through this trauma, go through the whole processing, and feel that they are on their own. No one understands what they're going through. No one will get it. People may just laugh at them. People will think, what do you know? You must be going crazy. But the reality is, you are not alone. There are a lot of groups out there that speak about. Well, they're becoming a lot of groups now. Weren't before. And speak about miscarriage and baby loss. And each person will have their own story, their own journey, what they've taken out or taken away from the group. And it's for you to think about how you want to contribute to the group. What is your expectation, and what do you want to gain from joining that group? What took you there in the first place? So as you agree with yourself to move forward with this, what things are you moving forward with? What self-talk are you moving forward? Is it negative? Is it positive? So it's about feeding yourself, feeding your soul with the right things, in this case, the right words, the right affirmations, the right corrections. I mentioned about unlearn, relearn, unlearn earlier. It's unlearning those negative associations, the negative thoughts that we are having, the questioning of your identity over and over again as a parent, because now you don't have a child to show for your journey, because it is a real journey. It's a journey, whether you fell pregnant very quickly or whether it took some time to fall pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, it is still a journey that you have experienced. And in doing so, you have become parent. Because your brain changes when you were pregnant, and when you become a parent, your brain changes. The hormones take over, your physical being changes, your psychological, mental, emotional well-being changes. So that in itself is you becoming a parent. If you do not accept or believe anything, believe that by going through these experiences, you are becoming a parent, and you have become a parent, whether your child is no longer with us. Above all, communication is truly the glue that rebuilds. Without communication, we remain further in loss and grief. And who wants to be in grief and loss for the rest of their lives? I don't think anybody consciously wants to have that happen. But the reality is, things happen, life gets in the way, your thoughts run away with you, and you're left feeling isolated. So I think that is my thoughts on this for today. Do we have any questions or comments? Let me just fucking feed through.
I can't see any new comments.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's cool. Michael, anything else you want to say before we go?
Is he still here?
I expect
Oh,
so.
he's still here. I can see him. Is he talking to us?
He may do, he may not.
Yes, I'm still here.
Yay! Well done. Your thoughts?
It's just like before. I do, just like you said, encourage people to actually be a little bit more optimistic when getting through these times. You will get through them. It's something that doesn't occur, or it's brief. It's not going to go on forever.
Mm-hmm.
So there's opportunity to get over this small period of loss in your time, in your life, and then move on and live, get back to living, so to speak. That's pretty much what I just gotta say. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael.
That's a good way of putting it, Michael. It is like crawling out of that dark hole that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, the black hole.
And seeing hope. There's hope, man. The hope. Many things happen because of hope. If we get ourselves down and stay down, we are not going to move forward. It is finding that hope, that positivity, and reason to be and to go again, right?
Yes, absolutely. I agree. I really agree. I think for me in this case, usually validation is not something that you look at or you seek, but in this case, validation does go some way to truly help you, because you are waiting to hear those words from the people, it could be a friend, it could be even an outsider, to just hear you, just to acknowledge that what you've gone through is traumatic, but you're still a parent. That in itself goes a long, long way to build or rebuild confidence, and to allow, Cyrus is here, and to allow, thank you, Cyrus, and to allow for yourself to heal from the negative words. So not necessarily healing from especially the miscarriage, but healing from the self-negative talk that we give ourselves.
Don't forget, my friends, we're going to a later time. Is it on a Thursday, Christiana?
It's going to be on a Thursday, so later time being potentially 7. So 7 onwards, or between 7 and 8 o'clock. It'll either be 7 or it'll be 8 o'clock.
Okay.
But
it makes life easier for American friends to join us. So you get to sleep some more, my friends. I'm always conscious, and I'm always grateful when you get up early to join us. I really am, because
absolutely, thank you guys. We love you. We love you for your commitment, because it takes a huge commitment. Annie, it really does.
It really does, and that's why I just seen your comments. There's a lot of shame attached to our losses too.
Yes, there is. That's why it's a taboo to talk about. Natalie, thank you. There's a lot of shame attached to being a parent, not being a parent, and losing a baby, losing a pregnancy. But more so when you don't have a baby, that shame that you carry for yourself. How can I, especially from a female perspective, it's that shame of how is it that my body cannot do what is supposed to be so natural to do, but we are called to do, as women. We tell ourselves that, right? And so it's really important when we are in those moments to remember that that is not that is not how life works. That is not what serves us best. If you have, like I mentioned earlier, if you have really great people around you, surround yourself with those great people. Please do not find yourself in a negative space when you already are in a negative mindset, because all it does, it slowly grounds you to a halt. And so it's important that we think about that.
So Christiana, you and Michael spoke very eloquently. Annie, not so much. This is a significant topic that is a key segment within global health, mental health, and well-being. There's increasing evidence that many women impacted by all types of loss are developing delayed complications due to chronic illness and long-term disability.
Yes, it does. Let's think about even PTSD from this. The PTSD that is linked to your loss of identity, and where you continue to question and to self-doubt, and to negative self-talk. So that becomes your cycle, your continuous conversation with yourself, environment, a negative room. And that shame that you feel is further perpetuated by those around you who should really be supporting or being supportive and caring for you. Like we see when we have chaos and dysfunction in the family, when they're a couple, and the couple should be the center, not the families that take it on board and want to make a thing out of it. I want to point fingers. I want to apportion blame. That is not the time to do so. I spoke last Sunday on the holistic show, about how when these things happen as couples, what serves best is to lean in, truly lean into each other and remind each other of who you are, remind each other you're actually parents. These are parents who are grieving, you are grieving parents. And that's the reality. You know, those are, you know me, Annie, I like to deal in facts. Those are the facts. You are grieving parents. So don't allow anyone to question, especially yourself, to question whether or not you're a parent, because that's part of your identity on this journey. A huge part of it, your identity. Cyrus says, hope is mental high five a caterpillar gives itself halfway through the cocoon before it even knows it will fly. Cyrus, the lyricist.
Yeah, you have to like that. I was going to call him the wise sage, but he might think I'm trying to age him before his time. Right? Yeah, but I like that, Sarah. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
And the show Christiana talked about was the enrichment of mind, body, and soul.
Yes.
You know, if you go and watch her genius that she shared on Karen and Lady J and Lady K's show, Karen Jones' show, then connect with Christiana. I'm sure she'll give you the link, right?
I will send it to you. Actually, I say that I'm still waiting for them to send it to me, but I will definitely send it to you. Connect with me. I am due to do another appearance on this show again at some point for part 2.
3 hours wasn't long enough, clearly. Just saying.
No, it wasn't. But here's the thing as well. In that show, I was so blessed to have a male's perspective. I always love male perspective in these conversations. A male's perspective that spoke, and just like Michael spoke today, you can hear the realness, you can hear the experience in the tone, in the way that they describe their experience, and describe the loss that they felt, describe the, in his situation was the lack of consideration to be included on the journey, on something that was, his heart desire. And it's so important, that we really take the time. Often that's what happens. We call it miscommunication, but it's taking the time and having the patience. Because when you take the time and you have that patience with each other, you seldom have miscommunication, right? Because you're building up to, and you have this conversation with each other. You can really hear, listen. And when I say listen, I don't mean listen to reciprocate, but listen to really understand what it means for that person, what that thing means for each other. But above all, you began the journey in love. Don't get to this point and separate yourself from the love. Lean in, because you are parents, no matter what anyone says. So thank you.
Good way to leave it. Natalie, I was only joking, Natalie. I'm all right. Christiana is a star of the show. Michael is a star of the show. As I always keep the shining spotlights on my amazing friends who do amazing things. Christiana, thank you so much.
Thank you, Natalie. Don't mind any.
As long as I get my food, I'm all right. Don't forget our food party. Don't forget that our meal with our friends, right?
Let's remind people. So for those who were here earlier, those who just joined us, those who are coming in later, here is the thing. So July marks our 1-year anniversary on this show. I'm saying it out loud, Eddie. I still can't believe doing a LinkedIn audio that's now become LinkedIn Live. Well, I cannot believe.
In those 2 years, you didn't know me, so you might have known me. You were creeping in the background.
I knew of you, but I didn't really
tell me. Right.
No, I didn't. I saw you on other things like Monwara's. I think I really first honed in on you when you were doing. You were a guest on Monwara's show. I was like, I've seen him around, but let me really listen and hone in. And I used to come in and kind of hide in LinkedIn audio when
Yeah,
it came
the
to
stalker.
to your books.
Hey, stalker. Sitting there quietly, no one knows she's there. We don't even see her clear.
Sitting there quietly,
Mm.
not a word, and just listened. And I said to myself, okay, now who do I want? I mean, I knew who I wanted, but the reality is, it was just great to connect with you. And I just said to myself, let me just find out who this Annie is. And I keep calling the godfather of LinkedIn audio, So I'm so glad we did that. And now we are a year old. We are 1 year old. And for our 1 year old celebration, we're going to be doing a brand new, you heard it here exclusively, new time to our show. And we're going to be having a party. Okay. So the party is still going to be talking about miscarriage and baby loss, whatever the topic is, for that time. The best thing for this month as well, it must be really good. I mean, someone's up there is looking after us. We're going to have 3 shows in 1 month this month.
How?
5 weeks, 5 weeks. 3 shows this month.
Okay, excellent.
Fortnightly makes us 3 shows this month. Hi Curtis, welcome.
Yeah,
It just means that God is smiling down on me, and the universe smiling down on us. 3 shows, and I think the last show will kick off our 1 year anniversary, because we began this 20 something of July last year. So.
Oh no. Oh no. She fell off at the very okay, the 20-something of July. I don't remember my birthday, let alone anniversary dates. My wife will tell you I'm totally useless. Totally, but Party with shout, Christiana, you're on the edge of the stage. You really must learn to stay in the middle of the stage. I keep telling you, stay in the middle of the stage.
Right? So yes, 1 year anniversary coming up at the end of July. I'm so excited. I am thrilled. We're going to make it a kind of a party celebration, a thank you to all our peeps. I will be sending people invites, like I should send them now. Send them now.
Don't forget. Don't forget. Send it near the time.
I'll send it now, but also send it a week before to let them know that we're going to be having a celebration. We're going to have a new change of time. I think it is prudent to remind people of the change of time from now, so they get used to it and not expect a 2 p.m. when it's a 7 or 8 p.m. in the evening and show. So really for me to say is thank you so much. First of all, Annie, because you are always here. You make it so straightforward, so simple, so enjoyable to be on this, even though we talk about topics that are heart-wrenching, at times. But nonetheless, we're here. We're still doing this show, and oh my goodness, I think I've lost count of the amount of people and clients and DMs and things that, I get to experience with other people. I get to be on other people's story and journey and hear, things that blows my mind sometimes. I am always humbled by what lands in my ear from others. When I think I've heard, I'll never say I've heard it all, because I haven't really, not even a smidgen. But when I think I've heard so much, mankind surprises me even more with their disclosures and with their sharing of their journey and their storytelling. So I want to say thank you. And yes, July, change of time is coming the same day, the same Thursday, just a different time. And also, if there's any topic, anything that we haven't spoken about on this show that you want us to talk about, you want us to bring to light and discuss, please write it in the comment section, or better still, send me a DM. Okay, go to my profile, and if you're here for the first time, connect with me. I am Christiana T. Johnson, a miscarriage and baby loss coach who naturally talks about miscarriage and baby loss. and also talks about how we support others. How do I help you? I help you by really bringing clarity with my program. I have a unlearn, relearn, and learn program, which is the URL program that helps me to help you, to support you in finding clarity and gaining confidence to move forward on your journey and looking at what your options are moving forward to either starting your family or increasing your family. I work with organizations to help them to really put in place fit for purpose policies and implementation practically of for those rather that have experienced miscarriage or baby loss. And what that looks like is something that we discuss. So feel free to DM me. I also help places like the NHS and medical practitioners to undo the outdated language that they use when they're interacting with patients or clients. Words like geriatric mother, ha ha ha, not funny. And words like incompetent cervix, ha ha ha, not funny, right? Or hostile womb, not funny. So that's how I help all three parts. And that's my business. My organization, my company is called Moving Forward Post Miscarriage. Coming to you very soon live.
Yeah. Look,
Thank you, Emily.
There's a reason why I put Curtis back on the screen. You know he's a men's health coach, right?
Yes.
Okay, so why haven't we had him here as one of our speakers?
We need to connect first, I think, me and Curtis.
Yes, I agree. He talks about men's relationship health,
Yes.
especially, of course, as a coach as well, executive coach as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that I've been to many of your coaches. You know, that man shows. You know, that there. You know, he talks deeply, Christiana. You know, we must have him on the show. You know, and I know he'll share insights that can help, especially the men in our community. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think.
And I've also got something to say in regards to that.
Go ahead.
And that would be on behalf of your wife, Annie. I must inform you that uselessness is lovable.
Uselessness?
Yes, is lovable.
Oh. What does that mean? Break it down for us. Tell us about it. We want to know.
We do need to go though. My next meeting is coming soon, and your kid is waiting for you now, Christian.
He is.
we need to go. Michael, we go, Michael. My uselessness is beautiful. I agree.
That if you talk to my wife, she'll tell you that I'm useless.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my gosh.
Well, useless. Yeah, I'm useless. I remember anniversaries and birthdays, and I don't remember dates. You know, I mean, there was a format to fill in. I don't know what it was, and it was your wedding anniversary. I'm like, I don't know. You didn't know.
Oh Lord.
You have to go and look and find the pictures on Google to see the dates.
You are kidding me.
No, really. That's only
no.
We don't do dates like that. My birthday's not that important. It goes past very quickly, so I let it go.
That's the choice you've made, I guess. So one cannot argue with you. Nonetheless, you're humans, and you should celebrate these things. Yeah. I always say, when you get to the middle age, I always say you are closer to death than you realize now when middle age. So
I am that.
Take that moment and celebrate each moment, each time, each birthday. Like do something to celebrate to mark the day, because you're not guaranteed the next one.
You get it, Christiana. You know, because now you are not middle age yet. You know, but when you've had 50 birthdays, the 51st, celebrating 51st, I'm gonna make much difference to my poor life. Right? It's fine.
It depends on who you are. So if you're used to not celebrating your birthday, then that's fair enough. But you know something, I always say celebrate the birthdays because
it's how you celebrate.
The next one is not promised.
No, it's how you celebrate. I celebrate in peace.
That's why I said mark it. If you use the word mark, mark your birthday.
I do
Whatever
that.
way you choose to do that, it's entirely up to you. But you must do. You might. You know, some people just it's a birthday. They don't do anything. They're just like, oh, it's my birthday. I can't remember. I forgot. No,
No,
no, no, no, no,
I
no,
don't do
no.
that. I eat well. I drink well. I don't show up online. That's how I celebrate my birthday.
Good.
Yeah, I agree. Look, my friends, enjoy. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments and also connecting with each other and meeting each other and sharing our stories, right?
Absolutely.
I bid you a happy Thursday, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow in my events. I got my book to business, Positivity Live, and Zara's Real Talk, Real Queens. You might be wondering, why am I on Real Talk, Real Queens, right? I don't know. I'm the special guest apparently. So I'll take it. I'll take it.
Annie, you know what you're like. You get everywhere. Do you know the name they used to call out people that get everywhere? She gets around. That's you. He gets around. I was
in a good way. In a good way. Bye everyone. Bye everyone. Bye.
Bye. Take care.